This episode is brought to you by Iams Pet Food. When you choose Iams dry dog or cat food, you can see a difference in your pet with your own eyes. Healthy energy in 5 days, healthy digestion in 10 days, and healthy skin and coat in just 25 days. Satisfaction for you and them. Guaranteed or your money back. Feed Iams dry dog or cat food and see a visible difference. Visit iams.com/difference to learn more.
Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
With Lululemon, the real gift happens when they're living in it. When you give them the softest loungewear set, the real gift is this. And this. And this. This holiday, Lululemon makes it easy to give a gift that goes beyond. Open the moment. Shop now at lululemon.com.
Big news! The Burger King Whopper lineup just got bigger. Now featuring the $1 Million Whopper Contest Top 3. There's something for street corn stands, bourbon barbecue fans, and fried pickle lovers. You gotta try them. You rule your season today at BK. Have it your way. You rule. Participating U.S. restaurants. Limited time only while supplies last.
Back with another episode of Keeping Current with Black Friday. No, wait. Keeping Current with Kansas City. This is Black Friday. How are you today, Daniel?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Not too bad. This is Thad Bell from the KC Soccer Journal, and Daniel on the other side is Daniel Sperry from the KC Star. And we have not recorded for a few days just because of life getting in the way, holidays, all that good stuff. Last time we spoke was prior to the NWSL Championship game. And we've now had an NWSL Championship game. Orlando won, fair and square, 1-0. Washington had a very good game, though. They outshot them. They had some chances, not as many as they would like, not as many quality chances they would like.
Yeah.
It was a good championship game, other than it was not the most exciting game.
There wasn't a ton of goals. I thought there would be more goals. I really did. I thought Orlando would jump out to the early lead in the way that they did. And then I thought that would put them in a game state where they could counter. But they've really just bunkered in and defended really hard, and they won quite a few 1-0 games. Throughout the season, that was one of the best defenses in the league. So that's the defense that can hold the 1-0 lead, and they did. Good game. All the festivities around the whole week was really cool. I know we can maybe get into it at some point, but I used to not be on board with the idea of the neutral site final, and I think for now in the NWSL, it's a really good thing and a really good option.
Yeah, I definitely prefer not a neutral site for this type of thing. However, I completely 100% understand why NWSL does it. They have a not huge staff, so it helps them greatly to be able to plan where things are going to be. They don't have to emergency figure things out. They don't have to emergency sell tickets. I do think maybe the downside to it is a lot of Kansas City fans bought tickets expecting a certain team to be there, and then that created a shuffle of how many tickets were actually being used. It was mostly sold. It was sold out, and it was mostly full. There were a few empty spots here and there that people tried to make it worse than it was. But I know you and I sat next to an NWSL executive at the one event talking about a lot of different things, and I think she said that they had added there was 70 people in the front office, or that the NWSL office, and 20 of them have been added over this year, in this season. So they're not a huge staff. So planning these things is a big deal, and it's hard to do. So I do understand why they do it. I just want it to get to the point where winner takes it.
I get that. I think for me the experience at the like walking around the town was cool. You see even at the skills comp, as cold as I was and as miserable as that event was, which thank you can thank your lucky stars you were not there, Thad. Um, there was a ton of Kansas City Current fans that showed up and showed out. And there were fans of pretty much every single team there too at the skills competition. Then
Yeah.
you get to the actual game. There's fans of everybody. I mean, there was pockets of friends that are Angel City fans. There was people walking around in Wave jerseys, and I saw a couple of Courage jerseys. Every single team in the NWSL was represented in fandom at the Fan Fest outside of the game. And I would assume that all of those folks went into the championship game as well. So I think like because they don't have an all-star week, they don't have like something that can bring fans together
Yeah.
in that way. That is their like moment to get everybody together. Um, Fandoms from around the league, it becomes a destination event at the end of the season. And I just think like too, when the other thing too, shared venues makes that really difficult, especially when the NWSL and the MLS seasons run concurrently. Um, it's a lot easier in the NBA because, it is what it is. There's not a ton of arena sharing, and when there is, it's usually pretty workable at the early part of the season, or even preseason for the NBA. Um, MLS and NWSL are in playoffs, and sometimes those MLS teams are fighting against NFL teams in their own building,
Right.
aka places like Atlanta, places like Seattle. So I just think that there's some benefits to being able to like choose a location and saying, this is the final. We're going to send everybody's coming. And last year, they put I would comfortably say there was at least 10,000, if not 10,500 people there. Like the empty seats were very minimal in that stadium. And so to like they put a lot of people in there. But the last two finals before that, they put more people in too as well. There was like 17,000 at the final at Audi Field for the between the Current and Portland. And there was I think 18, 20,000 people at the or something like that at San
Yeah.
Diego last year. So the appetite is there for it's not like what was happening with MLS is they put it in a location and they had a game like Colorado versus FC Dallas in Toronto in December or November, and though nobody was showing up to that game. Nobody in Toronto was paying attention to that game. And you also had a MLS Cup final between Seattle and LA, or not Seattle and LA, LA and Real Salt Lake, that was at Seattle, and I think there was maybe 20,000 people in a stadium that had been putting 40, 50,000 people in there for Sounders games during that inaugural couple of seasons. So like there's so much my rant will whittle down here, Thad. But like there's so much that has to be done, like in terms of where the sport is. You can put it all in one place, and it is a destination event, and it is in a destination that's going to work and be feasible, then I think it works. And they treated it like a Super Bowl week with the media day, the awards. They had the media row. They had the row of interviews. I mean, if you end up at media day, there was a room, all the tables, all the players are out there. Everyone and all the players are smiling, talking, doing interviews, having a lot of
Yep.
fun. We go upstairs into the workroom. All of the rooms, it was like podcasts, Sirius XM, CBS, ESPN, all of the the doc film crew to sit down and do interviews and stuff like that. They had all these like checklists for these players to go through and do all this stuff. And it's like, okay, this is like a Super Bowl week level like media build up to it. And then you have, there was the pop-up events all over the city, the live podcast tapings, you have Men in Blazers, you had Pino and Sue Bird and a few others doing a kind of a private party podcast thing with Tobin Heath and Kristen Press were there. I mean, like anybody who was anybody in NWSL was there and brought everybody in, and it just made it a really cool experience.
Again, I'm not disagreeing with any of that part of it.
No,
Where the NWSL is at now, I understand that. I just I still am like always a guy who focuses on the field first. So I want the team who finishes first in the league to be hosting the final because they earned that based upon their play throughout the season. All the rest of the stuff to me is fun and great and an indication of how the sport is growing. But I shouldn't say usually, I will almost always come down on the side of the play on the field comes first, everything else comes second. You know what I mean? So that's just where I see it.
Yeah, but money talks, and money talks about those other things a lot
Again,
more.
I'm not disagreeing that
No,
stuff,
yeah,
man.
no, yeah,
It's
I know you're
I
not.
understand it. It's and where NWSL's at right now, it makes perfect sense. Okay, so and then and for the NFL, the reason the Super Bowl is in a neutral site is again their event is so huge. I mean, it's
Correct.
almost it's World Cup worthy. Of a single game kind of thing, not World Cup the whole World Cup, but of a single location kind of thing. The size of it, so that's why they do it a little bit differently. Plus, nobody wants to be playing NFL games and you know upper somewhere when it's
In Buffalo,
yeah. So I was trying to think of a good city and make sure I wasn't saying one that had the
Buffalo,
devil.
Green Bay,
Yeah. So
Chicago.
all right. So anyway,
Yes, none of those teams
overall,
are winning anyways, but yes.
the NWSL Cup was a good event for the league for the teams. Sad that Kansas City wasn't there to represent in their hometown, but it gives them a reason to go somewhere else next year and do the same thing for another team. Should we? Is there anything else about the final you want to cover?
No.
I mean, there's like some really I don't want to say really nitpicky. There's some things that really kind of irritated me the way they did things, but overall it was a really great event. So I just don't want to like dig into like all the problems. That's stuff I will try to talk to people about later. Uh, Still, it's hard to be a photographer sometimes, man. But looking towards the next year, season's over. There will be roster announcements probably December 10th. That's when the final things have to be turned in, and that's when I'm pretty sure the current will say that's when we announce. They have a number of players that are no will be out of contract, some with options. Do we want to just run down that list of what we know, what we think?
Yeah, sure. Um, let's just go by position. Um, First, we could start with goalkeepers, which is really easy because all three of them are out of contract.
Yes. AD Franch, Almuth Schult, and Katie Frayne. I think that's the second time we've mentioned her name on this podcast.
Hmm.
Uh, no offense to Katie, but she was the only way she was seeing the bench was if there was enough injuries.
Yeah.
So Schultz was obviously really good down the stretch. AD Franch has been good throughout history. Had a was not as solid perhaps as they wanted, which is why they brought in Schultz and like I said, Frayne was there just as the backup. Any word? I have not heard any word about Schultz if they're trying to bring her back or if they're looking at other options. Thoughts?
Um, I think they want her back. That's the vibe that I've gotten. We'll see. I think I would be surprised like I would be surprised if she plays in the NWSL next year. I would be surprised if it's any team other than the Kansas City Current. The question
Yeah.
is whether or not for a long-term thing is she, does she have a good opportunity to go back to Germany? Is she closer to family and all that kind of stuff? I know she had her husband and her kids out here, and all that stuff, but sometimes as someone who can attest to the power of extended being surrounded by in-laws and extended family and all that kind of stuff. Being home is very nice. So I am especially with children. So I'm
Built-in
curious.
babysitters.
Yes. Um, I'm curious to see what happens there. But I have a good feeling that if she returns to the NWSL, it would be with the Kansas City Current.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's pretty much 50-50 whether she returns, I think is
Yeah.
the question. Like you said, the extended family and all that stuff, but I think the team almost acts as an extended family. I know it's not the
Yes.
same, but it
Oh yeah.
kind of is in a way. And she seemed to really enjoy her time and here and all the good stuff there. So
Mhm.
I would like to see her back and find another keeper somewhere else on the second one. No offense to AD, but would you bring if Schultz comes back? Would you bring AD back as a backup?
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting. Go to your happy place for a happy price with Priceline's Black Friday sale. Save now and travel later with our best deals of the year.
Go to your happy price, Priceline.
In the time it takes us to say we're making a damn delicious caramel iced coffee with Folgers Instant Coffee, you know we're all about that drizzle. You could be savoring every sip. Damn right. It's Folgers Instant.
The wrongs we must right. The fights we must win. The future we must secure together for our nation. This is what's in front of us. This determines what's next for all of us. We are Marines. We were made for this.
This episode is brought to you by NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. There's plenty to be thankful for. Your friends, family, and the fact that you can now get NFL Sunday Ticket for only $89. So thank yourself this holiday season and watch every game every Sunday when you bundle NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV. Sign up now at youtube.com/Sunday Ticket. Offer ends December 2nd. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games. Excludes digital-only games. Terms and embargoes apply.
Would AD want to come back as a backup, or does she want to go compete?
That's a good question. I think you would say yes, you would want AD in as a backup regardless. There's experience, good vibes, locker room, all that kind of stuff. Right. You know, it was interesting. Like I found even interviewing her for a story I did and watching her in training and stuff like that after she kind of lost the starting spot to Schultz, there was just a great amount of joy and still like fun and workwoman like attitude from AD, and I don't think it was one where I think she would do well as a backup somewhere. The question is whether or not she wants to be a backup or wants to be in a spot where she can compete and earn a starting spot again. That's on her and like her own like MO as a competitor. Like it does that right now, where she's at in her career. Does having that starting spot drive her? And does she look for something different? Or does she really enjoy this place and, you know, will take her opportunities when and if she gets them, if she sticks around here. So, you know, this is home for her too. This is
Right.
like her hometown place. I'm not
Or as
saying
close to hometown as can be.
I won't ever advocate for players to like seek out hometown discounts. I understand why teams do, and all that whole idea, but like I think like that's the scenario that you bring in AD French back in is if she's comfortable either having very high competition for the starting spot or being the backup to someone. And if not, then cool. You allow her to go, you know, seek out and fill her own competitive drive.
All right. Not much more to say on keepers at this point because we still have a limited amount of time. Center backs, natural center backs, Elizabeth Ball, Stina, Sharples, Robinson, Cook. I know there's some more, but that's the natural center backs there. Ball's out of contract, no option. Stina is out of contract with an option. Sharples has a contract through 25. Gabby has a contract through 26. Cook through 27. So those three center backs will be here unless there's some amazing trade that happens.
Yeah.
E-ball, I think, has become extra at this point.
Yeah, I think it just also depends too, like, do they want to you know, you kind of have your veterans with Cook and uh Sharples, and do you want to add, you know, Robinson will be third year at this point, and she really showed out in her rookie year and when she was healthy this year, just how
Right.
good of a defender she can be. Do you go like college signing with the fourth center back? Do you try and carry I mean, they've been carrying 4 and 5 at times. I could see that. I think I could still see them bringing back a player like E-Ball just for the uh the institutional knowledge, the experience, the all of that. She's still relatively young. Like she's not, I think she's only 27 or 28.
Uh,
Um,
29 according to this list I'm looking at. Not
okay.
100% sure.
You're welcome, E-ball, for assuming you were younger. Anyways, 20, 28, 29. I think like that's still a good spot for a center back. And if the, if she, I understand it too. Again, it's one of those things. If you have the competitive drive and you want to start and elsewhere, and can make more money elsewhere, I get that. Go do it. But like if you're the current, you're like, yes, we want you back at the right price for a fourth center back. And with Robinson probably missing the start of the season, um, having to continue to reshape your center back room while you reshape your goalkeeper room, if that is a possibility. Like doing both those things up the spine is a lot of work
It
early on
is.
in the season, and so maybe retaining a player like Eball helps continue some stability and continuity there.
Just another thought in there too is Mace does fill in that center back spot at times. The
Yes,
way
she straight up told me, was it the very last press conference that we did
yes,
with her? She said, "Well, I asked like how she feels playing as a fullback and a back four, and she goes, well, I'm hardly even doing that. I'm just practically a third center back."
yeah.
And I was like, "Well, thank you for thank you for putting voice to the tactical plan that we've all been watching unfold throughout the season."
Well,
But
so often the other outside back is going forward so much they're essentially playing with three center back type of situation. So
mhm.
yeah. All right. So Stina, contract is up, but with an option for next year. I think with what you have here, I don't necessarily bring her back. She wasn't starting, so I just don't see
Yeah,
like,
I
and
think there were some I don't know, there were some soft moments.
yeah,
There were some very good fierce moments, and there were some soft moments defensively. Um, And I think you got to come in with the right mentality. And I don't, not saying that she didn't have the right mentality, but there's another level of like determination and ruthlessness that players like Sharples and Cook, and even Eball play with. And I think that's, again, you've got a national team level center back that's being paid probably a fair amount of money and
that's
sitting
what
on
I'm
the bench.
expecting.
And
Yes.
I think that's like in a cap league, you have to make some business decisions. So I don't know. She might be one where I decline an option, and if there's a reasonable price to bring her back, you do it. Um, but
Honestly, I don't even bring her back. I am not arguing with your logic there. Just with being a cap league, international spot, age, all those factors come into it. There's probably, half a dozen defenders coming out of college that will not be the same level as her, but will be a quality backup. So I would let her go and just say, have a good day. And with that assumption of the salary, because of being an international national team player, just use that money for something else. Any other input?
no,
All right.
no rebuttals.
Uh, Other defenders on the roster. This was kind of listed a little bit weird. Mallory Weber, out of contract. Reagan, uh, out of contract with an option. Haley Mace has a contract through 2025. And I don't know why some people put these things this way, but Izzy Rodriguez, contract through 2025.
Ellie
And
Wheeler through 28.
yeah, she got the additional contract this year. So she
Yep.
got yeah. So
Reagan's option, whether it's official or unofficial, I can 100% confirm has been picked up. So she will be back next year.
yeah,
Um, that was, I think that came out at some point in October or
yeah,
something like that, and I double checked and confirmed that. So
yeah. It was never
she will be back.
announced, but it came out
Yeah.
through some other methods. And yeah, you and I both have checked this in different ways. And yes, you're correct. It's just not on this list.
Yep.
And she's another player who can play an outside back or a center back spot. So
Yep.
versatility and
And she could probably play both outside back spots too. So
yeah. And heck, did we see her like come into a midfield spot at some point this year?
Probably. It might have been in the Summer Cup, but probably.
Yeah, and it might have been like late in the game to just fill in spots too. But
Yeah.
all right, so I don't think I personally don't have a whole lot of questions here. Wheeler's
All
on long-term contract. Izzy's under contract.
Yeah, everyone's under contract through next season, so I don't unless there's a trade that happens, I expect all of them back.
Mallory Weber. That's
Oh,
his.
yes. Yeah, I think that's a hard one. She has not played she's what, played 10 minutes of soccer in the last two seasons. She played and missed really almost all of a third with what happened in 22 and when she got
Right.
hurt in the first game of the regular season up in Portland. So I mean that's like 5, 6 games maybe of Challenge Cup and then that. So just not good for her in that situation and it sucks. Hopefully she's able to play again if she wants to, but it's also one of those where I don't know what the current do there. It seems unlikely that they would bring her back.
Yeah, and you would have to bring her back onto a roster spot because she's been a season-ending injury for so
Yes.
long that she would have to now take a spot from somebody who's potentially already under contract
Hmm.
in those roles. Even if she does come back as a nearly as good as she was before, I just think you move on and say thank you, we love you, have a nice day, go
Hmm.
to an expansion team or another team that just needs a veteran depth piece.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the back line,
Hmm.
midfield. Uh, again, got to kind of run
Got
through
I've
these.
got I mean I can pull it up here in this way. We got Feist, DiBernardo, Hutton, Lola Bonta, and Jericho. And then Debinha I have also listed as midfield,
Right.
all under contract through 2025. Hutton and DiBernardo are through 2026. Debinha is through 26 with an option for 2027.
Desi out of contract and retiring.
Yes.
Sophie Braun out of contract with an option. I don't know if you said her,
Yes. I did not.
but
Because she was on loan, I don't
right.
have her on my roster at the moment because she's not on the roster,
Right.
which makes sense. So,
Yes.
yeah, I don't think they bring back Sophie Braun. I would be surprised if they did. Um,
Yeah. A little surprising. We thought that the way
I
she was
thought
being
she
talked
would.
about, but I
I
think
thought we thought she'd help.
she
Yeah,
just got bypassed. I think.
yeah.
So
I also think Feist came in at a level that they did not expect.
and
With her
Claire.
own injuries and stuff like that, and Claire shocked quite literally everybody this year.
Yeah. In the running for the Rookie of the Year.
Yep.
All right, so Dez obviously not coming back. Sophie, we don't think's coming back, but that leaves a midfield of Feist, Lowe, Claire, Vanessa, and Dabinia because Dabinia can play
As a
10 or a
10.
wing or
Yeah.
center forward. She can play almost anything.
Yep, except for
Um,
goalkeeper or
yeah,
fullback or maybe a little too short for center back too. But
yeah. Anything behind the six, no. Let's just say no. Okay. Um, she could probably play an outside back if she wanted to, but yeah, let's not even do that. So, yeah, if she was a keeper, I'd just be shooting high a lot. But I mean, that's a pretty good midfield. You also have uh, Hilda and Jericho had forwards and can be in those midfield spots too, I believe.
yeah, Jericho, Hilda, I think her was a loan,
She
right?
was.
So her loan is technically up at the end of the season. So we'll
Right.
see whether or not they bring her back. Jericho is still under contract for next year and into 2026 as well.
Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
with an option for 26.
yeah. And not that we saw her a lot, but she was so much fun in practice.
Yeah.
I almost feel like she's like a team mascot, or 'cause she was just like so much
Yeah.
fun and like always joking and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So she was a lot of fun. We did not get to see her or Hilda on the field enough to really, I feel like, make a good judgment on we want them back. But Jericho's
Hmm.
coming back. Hilda's the question mark. Training looked pretty decent, but
Yeah.
again, didn't see her on the field enough. Any comments on just that whole mid? Again, they were listed as forwards, but I'm including them in that midfield group. I think there's probably other midfielders out there to go find.
There are, and I think the team still needs a six. Like you need a true Desi like destroyer midfielder, I think. And as much like I really like Lowe, I think she played a lot better when she had Hutton there.
Yeah.
And I think like if Hutton is still in the mix for youth national team and that kind of stuff, like even into the full national team, 'cause I think she's still technically eligible to be in camp with U20s at this rate. So like I think like I do think especially with Feist or with not with Feist, but with Sophie Braun not working out the way she did, and Desi Scott, I just think it's one of those where like you need to go get another midfielder and kind of continue to raise the level. And who knows what Lowe's true injury was, at the end of the season, where she's playing through that. Does she miss time? Does she need surgery on anything? Like, who knows?
Yeah.
I'm curious what, like, there's all kinds of different things that can kind of pop up in the mix here. I think there's definitely places to add in the midfield. Um, especially depth wise. But if you can bring someone in that's high level to raise the bar of everyone around you, then have fun with it.
That's and I understand your logic, and I'm just like I kind of go back and forth a little bit on that because I felt Claire as a single six had done really well this year. As a double pivot six, she did really well. Uh, and I understand she's going to be gone, but if you bring in a high level six, they're going to be competing for that spot. Now, I almost want to see Claire get more time to continue to develop because she is so good. And yeah, she's not even going to turn 19 until next month.
No.
Well, actually, excuse me, January, not December, January.
Yeah.
We're very close to December. Uh, so yeah, she's still a ways, so she can still be on a U20 team, etc. Uh, anyway, that's just where I'm at. I'm kind of a dual mind of that. I would like to have another player in there that can play that spot, but maybe not to be the number one at that spot. But you have a couple players that can do it. So I just think you're going for what's the best player you can bring in to compete in that midfield for depth. All right, moving to forwards. Let's see. Nichelle Prince, option up. Kristen Hamilton option is or contract. Excuse me. Nichelle contract is up. Kristen Hamilton contract up. Hilda, the contract is up. We just mentioned her. Michelle Cooper under contract through 25. Timwa through 25. Jericho through 25 with an option for 26. And as we know, various players drop up that way. Ellie sometimes, Haley sometimes, etc. What do you see there? I mean, that's not a too bad forward line there of Timwa, Cooper, but
Yeah.
Nichelle's out of contract.
I
We
think
know,
I think they're, depending on what they choose to do with Nichelle Prince, and her contract, I could see them maybe bringing in another winger type because I think that's why they initially brought Nichelle Prince in was to be a winger for them. And I think Temwa surprised people. Michelle Cooper's progression on the wing really kind of took hold of that too. Nichelle Prince's own injuries throughout the year just kind of roughed that up. And, the main spot that really she could get in was at that center forward kind of spot. And I don't, if you're the current and you see what Bia can do for you, and how much better she makes you when she's on the field, do you go get another Bia type forward? There's not very
yeah,
many, but do you get a center forward that can do that? Maybe play with their back to goal a little bit and do some of the hold up, build up stuff. Because I think that was an aspect of the offense that was missing when she was out. They became relatively one-dimensional with Temwa. When Bia was in, for the most part, Temba, other players were scoring goals.
right.
When she was not, it was mainly Temwa because they didn't really have that interconnection and that build up through the middle. And I think that's an area that they could, with the money that Nichelle Prince probably makes contract wise, and with Kristen Hamilton, as a player, she played I think maybe 20 minutes in the regular season and very little in the Summer Cup. Um, those are that's a tough one because she's kind of a legend around here. But you know, do you bring her back? I think that's a good question. But what they do with that Nichelle Prince contract in the salary cap hole there, and how they choose to back up Bia I think could be kind of interesting because they could do a couple of things. In my opinion, they could do a couple of things. You can do a young, either a U18 initiative, kind of a winger to get in there in that forward group, or even a college sign winger attacker. I mean, those are all very good options for them.
Which, and excuse me, because I did not mention Bia when I was running down that list because she's oddly listed in a center forward instead of as a forward. I know why, but still. And Alex Pfeiffer. So again, player who's going to have to come back off of injury.
I bet both Robinson and Pfeiffer will start the season on season-ending injury list
Right.
and be there for at least a couple months.
Yeah.
So I think you still think mentally you got to fill those roster spots and let everything else shake out how it did. Because last year they had how many people that started on the season on SEI? We were like, how the heck are they going to fit this all in? And then we saw how they fit it all in, and it made a ton of sense.
Yeah. It worked itself out. Um, but we do also know that they signed a Nigerian 18-year-old,
They did.
and they did have not announced it. But as soon as you pushed about it, they said, yeah, quietly, yeah, but not till next year. And I want to say it was only a 1-year contract too. I could be wrong.
Correct.
So that's another option that they have coming in. I don't know much about her.
Nope.
Really didn't have time to investigate it when we found out about it. But that's another player that can add in there. So I think as we look at this, and as crazy as it sounds, as good as this team was, you kind of work your way into there was a player from each line. At least one player from each line that has to be probably sought after to come in. Uh, any additional thoughts?
No.
Which while you're thinking, I've been running off this list here, and I do want to say this is off a article on the KC Soccer Journal by Chad Smith. While I'm giving him a little crap about how the positions were listed, it was a lot of good information to find in one spot. KC Soccer Journal, go look for it. You ready for some Black Friday shopping then?
Um, I am not doing any Black Friday shopping. If I do, it'll be online, and my wife has gone out to a couple of places. I cannot be bothered with other people today. So
Ah,
yesterday was enough. Other people.
yeah. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving, man. A lot of
I
family,
did
good
have a
times.
good Thanksgiving, but it was a lot of people in a lot of different places, and I'm like, please just let me sit at home today.
Oddly enough, with as many stadiums as I go to, I hate crowds, but I'm usually more by myself, so it's good. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I've never been a Black Friday person, and I'm more of a Cyber Monday person. So if that even still exists, with everybody's like making
I think it
sales,
does. It kind of does, but
the stuff just gets so blurred at this point.
yes.
All right, man. I know we will be talking about this roster again in the next few weeks, probably more than what we have want to, but we will be talking about this roster, especially December 10th. I anticipate, like I said, the roster moves will be made, and we will have a pod as soon as after that as possible to discuss what those are, and that will clear up a lot of what we just discussed today.
Hmm.
Not all of it by any means, but it should clear up a good amount of those questions, all the possible options, and it will likely, just like on sporting side, require some fan favorite players not coming back. But that's the
Yep.
price of wanting a better team.
Yep.
All right, man. I appreciate the time, and you have a good Thanksgiving post days time
Yes.
up to yourself.
Yes. We'll record less often during the off season, but when we hit important moments, we will certainly be there to talk about it.
Yeah, we'll probably not as often, but we'll try to find some regular time to still discuss things. But I appreciate it, and we are out.